guy I've never met, but I'm in love with, and I'm going, even though I know that it's going to cost about, like everybody's telling me, $3,000, you know, minimum. I said I'm going to go for less than 900, and I did. When I called the travel agent, she said we have nothing available. Oh, except this. It just popped up. It looks like somebody canceled for 3 weeks for what was it now? $850. Yeah, I'm like, that was the one. That's the one. So
okay, and you've also done this now. You've sort of followed this kind of pattern since then.
Yes.
In allowing things to come to you and
yes.
knowing, sort of having a second sense about that. Is that right?
Yeah. It just a strong trusting. The guidance just directs you. It's like the white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
That's what it feels like. So you just know what to do and that you'll be fine. You know, and you can make it happen. I can use all of this stuff that I've been taught to reverse a lot of the old conditioned programming that is put on us when we're younger, right? And it's NLP in a sense, programming your old beliefs and your if they're yours or where they came from, and using them to step into your power more and more, and seeing what you can do. If these beings say that we're infinite, you know, and that we're these beautiful balls of light, then I want to experience this. I want to feel this. And you can't just read about it. You have to embody it, is what I've come to realize. I'm not praying or wishing or hoping for peace and love anymore. I've decided to become it. You know, it comes to a point in life where you decide, do you want to go home or become home? And then will that bring home to everybody within? That's what the shift feels like to me.
What I was wondering now, if you could talk a little bit about the messages that you were getting and the kind of beings that were coming to you, if you could describe them, maybe specific ones that have particular meaning for you.
Well, it's never been quite specific. Like I said, they've always, just when I thought I could pinpoint it, okay, it's a play, no, it would be something different suddenly. So it was never quite about attaching, okay, this is Jesus, this is Buddha. It was never about that. It was about the fusion and merging all of them together, and that being God in itself, right? Playing all these roles and speaking to us in whatever comfort belief that we had. So that was always my approach and perspective on it, even when understanding what these aliens were, pieces of ourself as well. And so what I started to do was not only test this stuff out in my life, and I don't mind sharing those experiences because they're quite wild and really fun, especially when people start trying it out for themselves and then calling me up later going, oh my goodness. So, but for example, what I found with the extraterrestrials is if time doesn't exist, past, present, and future are all existing at the same time simultaneously, and this is an illusion, in a sense, time is just a bunch of still frames. And this camera, you know, it's not really moving, it's just a bunch of still frames. Mm-hmm. And it's a trick of the eye. Such is the case with going on within our mind as well, making us perceive. Then if we've been taught to believe about time linear the way we do now, then that means there's aspects of ourself that is fragmented. So future versions of ourself, depending on the probability of our thinking. So, for example, the Greys, not saying all Greys are like this, but when I learned that they actually aren't gray at all, that on a crash they dissected them and found that their gray skin was actually our color, and those big goggles, those big eyes, that's what they were goggles. They were a future version of ourself that, you know, they feel, when people feel them, they feel very cold and kind of calculated, and it's almost like that version of our self, of the collective thinking about, you know, the desensitization of war and all this cloning and genetic engineering and the the chemicals in the air made us a little bit disconnected from who we really were, because, you know, some people say that they, you know, they don't really feel, they don't have emotions in that sense, and that's an aspect of ourself. And I would wonder why those ones would, if you ask any little kid to draw a picture of an alien, it would always be the grays with the big eyes. And what I got from them was that they came back to kind of prevent us from going down that path. And it sounds very bizarre. How can, you know, something come from the future and come back to us if time travel doesn't even exist? But if an old man has smoked his entire life and he has a hole in his throat because of it, a lot of the times they get inspired to go to an elementary school to talk to the kids and say, please don't smoke or you'll end up like me. And that's kind of what I saw with the Greys. So then I'm like, now I'm going to play with the other races. What about the reptiles? Why are people seeing reptiles? And for me, everything at first exists within. What happens inside of us gets mirror reflected outside. There is a war going inside of our mind, hence a war going on outside. Even our body mirrors this in that what is cancer really but one cell not recognizing another cell is on the same team, and so they fight. Well, that's exactly what, you know, the Americans and the Iraqis, and it's been played out over and over, and that's why the Buddhists were always saying, you know, peace of mind, meditation, clarity, because oh my goodness, I'm going to not go on tangents. I got to watch out for that.
Okay,
I'm getting
well, don't
excited,
worry. It has a through line, but what I want to know is, when you're talking in this way, are you talking about information that has come to you?
Yes.
Or the information you've read on the internet?
No.
Are you putting these two together?
No, I couldn't really read or study this information that much. More of it just honestly came to me. If I did try to read, I would get other stuff coming to me. It was almost like whoever inspired the person in writing the literature, they were speaking through me. You know, in acting, there's the subtext, reading in between the lines, a whole other message behind it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I was always picking up, that I could never read or watch movies the same way as everybody else. I never got what everybody else got. I always got something completely different. I never saw things like everyone else. So, I mean, that's like even with reptiles, I don't see them like everybody else does. I see them as a manifestation within our mind because of the reptilian brain. That's where the ego is, and where 90% of the negative self-talk comes from, and the repetition and that controlling factor in our mind. And I don't even see the ego as something as bad. I see it as something that is desperate for our attention and feels like it has a duty to keep us safe, and it's doing a good job, but to the point where now it's making reasons why we need it, and now we need protection from the protection, which is mirror reflected in our society with our system. You know, it was there for protection.
Okay.
Now we need protection from that. Even the Pleiadians, they're another mirror reflection of ourself in the future, of if we step into our potential, our infinite potential, then we'll have that reality probability manifested for us. So there's all these laid out for us, and it's really up to each one of us by the inner work that we do. And we're responsible because we are our own self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what humanity is, and they've been played.
Okay, and what is your view if, you know, in other words, when the entities, I guess I want to say, when the entities come to you and they give you information, do you just accept it?
No, we have a conversation almost. Like I challenge them. I always like to challenge them and play with them because that seems to be what really stimulates them, coming about in touch with your inner child, you know, and that creativity and wanting to understand why they're bringing this about, you know, why are they sharing this? What is your intent behind it? And I've been able to filter right away ones that are trying to sway by how they make you feel about yourself and the world around you. Do you feel afraid and that you need to, you know, protect yourself, or do you feel more liberated and more compassionate and loving? Okay. And that's how you can decipher through any message, whatever thing you're watching.
Okay. And Are you finding that certain beings return to you more than once? Would you recognize them, or are you talking about a general, sort of heading, it's called spirit or guides or whatever?
I prefer to use that, even though, yeah, they are just facets of myself, you, everybody.
Right, but given that they are, if you want to look at it that way, in terms of, we can always look at the world in that terminology, but they still have individuality to some degree.
But I've never really focused on that. That never really interested me so much, because to me that seemed to be a bit of a distraction.